Have you ever heard of a martial artist so feared that his name alone could clear the streets of Hong Kong's toughest neighborhoods? This is the story of Dam Thang, the man they called the Iron-Fisted Legend. A figure whose life was as spectacular as it was tragic. Born in the tumultuous early 20th century in Guangdong, Dam Thang was no stranger to hardship. From a young age, he was drawn to the world of martial arts, not just as a hobby, but as a means of survival. He immersed himself in Hung Ga, a powerful southern Chinese martial art known for its strong stances and devastating hand techniques. But Tam wasn't content with just learning. He wanted to master it, to push its limits. He spent countless hours honing his skills. His training was brutal. He'd strike sandbags until his knuckles bled and calloused over, condition his forearms by striking them against wooden poles, and practiced his stances until his legs burned with exhaustion. This relentless dedication forged his body into a weapon. His fists, hardened like steel, became legendary, earning him the moniker Iron-Fisted Tam. When Dam Thang arrived in Hong Kong, the city was a powder keg of rival martial arts schools and street gangs, all vying for dominance. It was a world where respect was earned, not with words, but with fists. Tam, with his unparalleled skills and unyielding demeanor, quickly made a name for himself. He wasn't just a fighter. He was an enforcer of an unspoken code of honor. His reputation grew with every challenge he accepted and won. He famously opened his own school, but it was far from ordinary. It became a gathering place for the city's most formidable fighters. Tales of his prowess spread like wildfire. One famous story tells of how he single-handedly faced down a dozen armed thugs who were trying to extort a local shopkeeper. Without breaking a sweat, he disarmed and disabled them all, using nothing but his bare hands. He didn't just defeat them, he broke their will to fight. This wasn't an isolated incident. Tam became a guardian of the common folk in his district. He was a man of few words, but his actions spoke volumes. If a gang tried to cause trouble, a quiet word from Dam Thang, or a demonstration of his power, was usually enough to send them packing. His presence created a bubble of safety in a city rife with crime and violence. He was more than a martial artist. He was a symbol of justice, a real-life folk hero. However, the world of martial arts in Hong Kong was deeply intertwined with the clandestine world of the Triads. The lines were often blurred. A martial arts master's strength could be used to protect the innocent, but it could also be co-opted to enforce the will of powerful criminal organizations. As Dam Thang's fame reached its zenith, he attracted the attention of these very groups. They saw his strength not as a tool for justice, but as a valuable asset for their own ambitions. Initially, Tam resisted their advances. His principles were clear. Martial arts were for self-defense and protecting the weak, not for criminal gain. But the pressures were immense. They offered him wealth and power beyond his wildest dreams. They also made veiled threats, not just against him, but against his school and the community he protected. It was a classic dilemma. Join them and compromise his soul, or resist and risk everything he had built. The turning point came with a series of escalating conflicts. Rival gangs, backed by powerful Triad factions, began to challenge his authority directly. The street duels became more frequent, more violent. Tam found himself caught in a web of intrigue and power struggles that went far beyond simple martial arts rivalry. He was a master of combat, but he was a novice in the world of organized crime politics. It's here that the details get murky, lost to the whispers of history. Some say he made a pact with one devil to fight another, believing he could control the situation. Others believe he was tricked, cornered into a position where he had no choice but to align himself with a Triad faction simply to survive. Whatever the reason. The Iron-Fisted Legend who once protected the streets began to be seen as an enforcer for its darkest elements. His reputation began to change. The respect he once commanded was now tinged with fear. The man who was once a hero of the people became a feared figure. His school, once a place of honor, was now seen as a breeding ground for Triad muscle. This internal conflict must have been devastating for a man of his principles. He was trapped, a lion in a cage he had inadvertently helped to build. The tragic end came as swiftly as his rise. The saying, "Those who live by the sword die by the sword proved devastatingly true. In a city where power shifts like the tide, Tam Shang had made too many powerful enemies. He had become a pawn in a much larger game, and pawns are always expendable. One fateful night, he was ambushed. But this wasn't a one-on-one duel of honor. Accounts say he was attacked by a large group, not of martial artists, but of ruthless assassins, armed with blades. Even for the great iron-fisted Tam, the odds were impossible. He fought with the ferocity of a cornered tiger, taking down several of his attackers. But the relentless assault was too much. Tam Shang, the legend of Hong Kong Triads, was cut down. His fall sent shockwaves through the martial arts community and the underworld. The man who seemed invincible was gone. His death marked the end of an era. The age of the martial arts folk hero, the lone warrior upholding justice, was fading, replaced by the cold, calculated machinery of organized crime. Today, the name Tam Shang is not as widely known as movie stars like Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan. His story isn't one of cinematic glory, but a gritty, cautionary tale from the streets. It's a story about the immense power of dedication and skill, but also about the corrupting influence of power and the tragic consequences of navigating a world where the lines between right and wrong are blurred. Tam Shang was a product of his time, a time of chaos, honor, and brutal reality. His rise was a testament to the peak of martial arts mastery, but his fall serves as a somber reminder that even the strongest fists cannot always protect a man from the darkness that lies within society and sometimes within himself. His legacy is a complex one. A hero who became a cautionary tale, an iron fist that ultimately could not punch through the intricate web of fate. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into Hong Kong's hidden history. If you found this story compelling, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more deep dives into forgotten legends. Let us know in the comments what you think about Tam Shang's story. We'll see you in the next one. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the shadowy world of Hong Kong's Triads to uncover the story of a man who rose from the streets to become one of the most powerful figures in the city's underworld. This is the story of Kwok Wing Hung, better known by his infamous nickname, Shanghai Boy. His life is a real-life gangster epic, filled with ambition, power, and a dramatic downfall that reads like a movie script. So, who was Kwok Wing Hung? Born in 1958, he grew up in one of Hong Kong's toughest public housing estates. Like many young men in his circumstances, he was drawn into the world of triads at an early age. He joined the Woshing Wo, one of Hong Kong's oldest and most influential triad societies. But Kwok wasn't just another foot soldier. He was smart, ambitious, and had a natural talent for making money. In the rough-and-tumble world of the Triads, Masulafin rules. But Kwok Wing Hung carved his own path. He wasn't known for his fighting skills, but for his sharp business mind. He quickly realized that the real power wasn't in street brawls, but in controlling the flow of cash. He started by managing mahjong parlors, a classic Triad enterprise, but his ambitions were much bigger. He began to build a reputation as a financial genius within the Woshing Wo. His nickname, Shanghai Boy, is said to have come from his distinctive hairstyle, reminiscent of the slicked-back look popular in old Shanghai movies. But it was his other moniker, the Money King, that truly defined his status. He was the man who could make money appear out of thin air, laundering illicit funds and investing them in legitimate businesses. By the 1990s and early 2000s, Kwok's influence had exploded. He allegedly controlled a vast empire that stretched far beyond traditional Triad activities. His interests reportedly included finance, real estate, and even the entertainment industry. He was a master of disguise, blending the lines between the underworld and the legitimate business world. He was often seen rubbing shoulders with celebrities and business tycoons, projecting an image of a successful entrepreneur rather than a Triad boss. This was his genius. He understood the power of perception. He became so powerful that he was elected as the leader, or dragonhead, of the Woshing Wo Triad for a term. This was a testament to his influence and financial muscle. Unlike old-school gangsters who ruled through fear and violence alone, Kwok ruled through wealth and connections. He was the new breed of Triad boss, a corporate gangster who understood that the boardroom could be more profitable than the back alley. For years, Kwok Wing Hung seemed untouchable. He moved in the highest circles of Hong Kong society, a shadowy figure whose power was whispered about, but rarely challenged openly. He was a symbol of the changing face of organized crime in Asia, a world where suits and briefcases replaced knives and choppers. He cultivated an aura of mystery, rarely giving interviews and staying out of the direct spotlight, which only added to his legend. But as the old saying goes, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Kwok's high-flying lifestyle and immense wealth eventually drew the unwanted attention of law enforcement. His name started appearing in connection with a series of high-profile investigations. The police were closing in, and the intricate web he had woven over decades began to unravel. One of the biggest blows came when he was linked to a massive money laundering scheme. The details were complex, involving shell companies and convoluted transactions. But the authorities were determined to bring the Money King down. The pressure mounted, and in a dramatic turn of events, Kwok fled Hong Kong, becoming one of the city's most wanted fugitives. His sudden disappearance sent shockwaves through both the underworld and the business community. The man who once controlled a financial empire from the shadows was now on the run. He was spotted in various countries, living the life of an international fugitive. It was a stark contrast to his previous life of luxury and influence in Hong Kong. The law enforcement net, however, was tightening globally. It seemed that even with his vast resources, there were few places left for him to hide. Eventually, the pressure became too much. Kwok Wing-hung returned to Hong Kong, where he was immediately arrested at the airport. The image of the once mighty Money King being led away in handcuffs was a powerful symbol of his downfall. The legal battles that followed were intense, as prosecutors worked to untangle his complex financial dealings and prove his connections to organized crime. The fall of Kwok Wing-hung marks the end of an era. His story is a captivating look into the modern evolution of Triad societies, showing how they adapted from street gangs to sophisticated criminal corporations. He was a man who understood the modern world and used its systems to build an empire, but in the end, he couldn't outrun the law. His rise and fall serve as a cautionary tale about the fleeting nature of power built outside the law. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the life of Kwok Wing-hung. It's a fascinating and complex story that reveals so much about the hidden corners of our world. If you found this interesting, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next video. We love hearing from you, so drop a comment below and let us know what you think. Until next time, stay curious.